My sisters and brothers, let me tell you something today. The enemy of your destiny is deception, and one of the greatest weapons the enemy will use is the illusion of love from the wrong place. When a married man steps into your life, showering you with attention, whispering words that make you feel seen, don't be deceived, because every move he makes, every look he gives, and every word he speaks reveals something about his heart. Today, I want to share with you 5 undeniable signs that a married man is not just in you, but he's in love with you. And let me tell you, recognizing these signs is not about encouraging it. It's about knowing the truth so you can walk in wisdom. A man's most precious resource is his time. If he's married, his time belongs to his wife and his home. But if you find him carving out time, consistently, intentionally, and at the expense of his responsibilities, he's showing you where his heart is. When a man opens up his soul, his fears, his struggles, his dreams, he's bonding with you in ways that should be reserved for his wife. If he confides in you more than he does his spouse, then his emotions are entangled with you. Oh, I know somebody knows what I'm talking about. If he's married but starts acting possessive, questioning your friendships, showing jealousy when you talk about another man, that's not just care, that's love out of order. Listen to me. A married man who constantly speaks of a future where he's free, where he's awaiting for the right time, where you and he can finally be together. He's feeding you a fantasy, and a fantasy will rob you of your reality. A man in love cannot serve 2 masters. If he's conflicted, restless, unable to walk away from you, then love has trapped him in a place he should have never entered. But hear me today. If he really loved you the way love was meant to be, he would come correct, he would come right, and he would come free. So my sister, my brother, let wisdom guide you. If you recognize these signs, you have a decision to make. Love should never be built on someone else's broken covenant. Walk in wisdom, step in strength, and trust that real love, the right love, is worth the wait. Time is the currency of love. A man may say he loves you. He may flatter you with words. He may even shower you with gifts, but nothing speaks louder than where he spends his time. Time is a man's most precious resource, and when a married man begins to pour an excessive amount of it into you, it is a signal, a flashing red light, that his heart is no longer where it should be. Let's talk about this. When a man has vowed himself to another woman, he has stood before God, his family, and his friends and pledged to honor, love, and cherish his wife. His time is already spoken for. His time is already spoken for. His time belongs to his home, to his spouse, to his responsibilities as a husband and possibly a father. But when you begin to notice that he is carving out moments, large chunks of his day, secret phone calls, hidden messages, or just checking in texts, it is a sign that something is shifting in his heart. It doesn't always start with romance. It may begin with casual conversation, small talk at work, friendly exchanges in passing, or an occasional call just to see how you're doing. But over time, that time increases. First, it's a few minutes here and there. Then, it's an hour at lunch. Then it's late-night conversations that he claims are just friendly. Before you know it, you are the first person he calls in the morning and the last voice he wants to hear at night. Let me make this clear. A man does not give his time freely. He gives it where his heart is invested. If a married man is giving you more of his time than his own wife, you better believe that his emotions are tangled up in you. You may try to justify it, saying, "Oh, we're just friends." But let me tell you, that kind of friendship is built on dangerous ground. Dangerous ground. Because time is the bridge that leads to attachment, and attachment is the foundation for love. Think about it. How do relationships grow? They grow through time spent together. Time is what strengthens a bond, what deepens affection, and what turns a passing interest into an emotional dependency. When a man spends time with you, consistently, intentionally, and sometimes even sacrificially, it is not just coincidence. It is not just convenience. It is because his emotions are drawing him toward you. Let's take a moment to talk about what this excessive time looks like. It may not always be in physical presence. A married man who is in love with you will find ways to be with you, even if he can't be there physically. Maybe it's through long phone conversations, messaging throughout the day, or seeking out reasons to be in your space. Do you think he lingers a little longer in your presence than necessary? Maybe he starts prioritizing your needs over his own household. If you notice that his schedule seems to revolve around you, if he's making excuses to be where you are, if he is consistently reaching out when he should be focused elsewhere, let me tell you, he is already emotionally attached. And let's not ignore the power of digital time. In this world of technology, time is not just about physical presence. It's about attention. If a married man is consistently liking your posts, commenting on your pictures, watching your stories, or waiting for the perfect moment to slide into your messages, don't be deceived. He's investing his attention in you. His time may not be spent in your physical space, but his mind is consumed with thoughts of you. You see, love is not just about words. It is about actions. And time is an action. It is a choice. It is a decision to prioritize one thing over another. A man who is truly committed to his marriage will guard his time. He will set boundaries. He will be careful not to invest his energy in a place that could compromise his integrity. But when a married man begins to give you what should belong to his wife, his time, his attention, his presence, he is revealing something. He is showing you that his emotions have become entangled with you. And let's be real, there is a danger in this, because time is what creates a sense of belonging. The more time he spends with you, the more he begins to feel like you are his. And the more time you spend with him, the more you begin to feel like you belong to him. Without even realizing it, you become emotionally dependent on one another. He becomes the person you turn to when you need comfort. You become the person he seeks when he needs affirmation. And before you know it, an emotional bond has been formed, one that is as strong as, if not stronger than, physical attraction. But hear me today. When a man gives you his time but not his commitment, he is only giving you borrowed love. And borrowed love will never be enough. Borrowed love will keep you waiting in the shadows, holding on to promises that may never be fulfilled. Borrowed love will make you feel special for a moment, only to leave you questioning your worth in the end. Because no matter how much time he gives you, no matter how much attention he pours into you, he still belongs to someone else. So, my sister, my brother, if you find yourself in a situation where a married man is investing excessive time in you, stop and ask yourself, where is this leading? Because the truth is, no man gives his time without intention. He may not say it out loud, but his actions are speaking. If he is always there, always present, always finding ways to be in your space, his emotions are already caught up. The more time you allow, the harder it will be to walk away. To walk away. The deeper the emotional bond, the more difficult it becomes to break free. That is why you must recognize the signs early. You must guard your heart, protect your time, and refuse to be the place where someone else's husband finds his emotional refuge. Because love that is meant for you will not come in stolen moments. Love that is meant for you will not require secrecy, waiting, or compromise. The right love will come fully, freely, and without the baggage of another commitment. So today, I urge you, value your time, value your heart. If a married man is giving you his time, understand what it means. Understand what it signals. And if you recognize that he is emotionally attached, take a step back. Because a love that starts in deception will never lead to destiny. And the love that is truly meant for you will never come from the heart of a man who is already taken. Choose wisely, walk in wisdom, and trust that the love that is meant for you will come in wholeness, not in pieces. When a man begins to open his soul to you, when he lays bare his thoughts, his emotions, and his deepest secrets, he is doing more than just talking. He is forming a connection. He is creating a bond. And if that man is married, what he is doing is stepping beyond the boundaries of his covenant, whether he realizes it or not. See, words are powerful. They are not just sounds that come out of our mouths. Words carry weight. Words carry weight. Words carry intention. Words create relationships. That is why the Bible says, a life and death are in the power of the tongue. Because when a person speaks, has the power to build or destroy. And when a married man starts confiding in you, telling you things he does not tell his wife, sharing his struggles, his dreams, his disappointments, he is doing more than just venting. He is weaving an emotional connection that is as strong as, if not stronger than, physical attraction. Now, let's break this down. It might not start with something deep. Maybe he just complains about his day. Maybe he talks about how stressful his job is, how tired he feels, or how no one seems to understand him. At first, it may seem harmless. After all, people vent all the time, right? Oh, But then something shifts. The conversations start to become more personal. He starts telling you things about his marriage, how he's unhappy, how he feels alone, how he's struggling to make things work. And before you know it, you have become his safe place. Let me tell you something. Intimacy is not just physical, it is emotional. When a man begins to share his heart with you, when he exposes the parts of himself that he keeps hidden from the rest of the world, he is drawing closer to you. He is stepping into a space that should be reserved for his wife. But it didn't me. He may not be touching you physically, but emotionally he is holding your hand. Spiritually, he is leaning on you. And mentally, he is making room for you in a place where only one woman should reside. Society teaches them to be strong, to hold things in, to man up and handle their business. So when a man finds someone he can be vulnerable with, it is not a small thing. It is a big deal. Vulnerability is a sign of trust. And trust is the foundation of every deep relationship. If a married man trusts you with his fears, his worries, his disappointments, that is not just casual conversation. That is emotional attachment. And let's talk about what happens next. When someone shares their struggles with you, it is natural to feel compassion. You begin to sympathize. You begin to listen more closely. You start to feel connected to his pain, his journey, his emotions. And that is where the danger comes in. Because the more he shares, the more invested you become. You find yourself thinking about him, wondering how he's doing, checking in on him, making sure he's okay. And without even realizing it, you start to care in a way that goes beyond friendship. Now, some of you might say, but I'm just being a good friend. I'm just offering support. Let me challenge that today, because support can turn into attachment. And attachment can turn into love. Oh, and love, when placed in the wrong situation, can turn into destruction. He's emotionally unfaithful to his wife. He's preparing to be physically unfaithful. Either way, the foundation of his marriage is being shaken, because a husband and wife are meant to be each other's closest confidants. When a man stops turning to his wife for emotional support and starts turning to you instead, a shift has taken place. His heart is divided. His attention is redirected. His intimacy is misplaced. And you, whether intentionally or not, have become a replacement for something that belongs to another woman. Let me ask you this. If you were his wife, how would you feel? If your husband was pouring his heart out to another woman, if he was sharing his deepest fears and struggles with someone else instead of you, would you still think it was harmless? Would you still say, it's just conversation? No. Because we all know that relationships are not just built on physical connection. They are built on trust, on emotional safety, on knowing that your person turns to you first. And let's talk about where this leads. Emotional bonds do not stay in one place. They grow. They evolve. They turn into something more. What starts as conversation turns into late night calls. What starts as venting turns into seeking comfort. What starts as a just talking turns into feelings neither of you expected. And before you know it, you are in a situation where lines are blurred, boundaries are crossed, and hearts are entangled. That is why you must be vigilant. If a married man starts sharing his emotions with you, recognize it for what it is. It is not just a casual connection. It is not just a harmless friendship. It is the beginning of an intimate bond that could lead you both into dangerous territory. Let me say this. You deserve more than that. You deserve a love that is whole. A love that does not require secrecy. A love that does not ask you to be a hidden part of someone else's story. Because let me tell you, when you allow yourself to be a married man's emotional refuge, you are setting yourself up for heartbreak. You are investing in something that was never meant to be yours. You are planting seeds in soil that cannot give you the harvest you deserve. So today, I urge you, guard your heart. Set boundaries. If a married man is coming to you with his emotions, redirect him back to where he belongs. Encourage him to seek counseling, to communicate with his wife, to work on his marriage. But do not become the person he leans on. Do not allow yourself to be the one who holds his secrets. Because the moment you do, you have already stepped into a role that is not yours to fill. Man. And if you are already in this situation, I encourage you, walk away while you still can. The longer you stay, the harder it will be to let go. But trust me when I say this, what God has for you is so much greater than a borrowed love. What he has for you will not come with confusion, with secrecy, with guilt. What he has for you will be clear, pure, and whole, so choose wisely. Love yourself enough to wait for the right thing, and trust that the love that is truly meant for you will not come at the cost of someone else's covenant. Optimistic. It can disguise itself as care, it can masquerade as concern, and it can even feel like love. But let me tell you something. When a married man becomes jealous over your interactions with other men, it is not just a sign of attraction. It is a sign of possessiveness. And if you do not recognize it for what it is, you may find yourself caught in a web of emotional entanglement before you even realize what's happening. Let's talk about this. A married man has made a commitment. He has given his vows. He has a wife, a home, and responsibilities. A wife, a home, and responsibilities. He should not, under any circumstance, feel entitled to have control over another woman's personal relationships. And yet, there are times when you will see signs, subtle at first, but undeniable as they grow. Maybe it starts with a comment here and there. Oh, I see you talking to him a lot these days. Maybe he laughs, but there's an edge to it. Maybe he asks questions that seem casual on the surface, but are filled with hidden meaning. Who was that guy you were laughing with? You two seem pretty close. Maybe he starts to make jokes about your dating life, saying things like, no one is good enough for you. Be careful who you let in your life. And then, suddenly, it becomes more than just comments. You notice the shift in his mood when you talk about another man. Maybe he becomes distant. Maybe he starts to get cold. Maybe he withdraws, punishing you in silence, making you feel guilty without saying a word. And if you ask what's wrong, he shrugs it off. Nothing. But you know something has changed. And let me tell you, this is not about care. This is not about protection. This is about possession. Because let's be real. When a man is happily married, when he is truly committed to his wife, he is not concerned with another woman's social life. He is not worried about who she talks to, who she laughs with, or who she spends time around. But when a married man starts to act possessive over you, when he begins to monitor your interactions and express jealousy over your connections with other men, he is showing something deeper. And let's be clear, he may never say it out loud. He may never fully admit it, even to himself. But his actions will reveal the truth, because jealousy is not silent. It speaks in frustration. It speaks in passive-aggressive comments. It speaks in sudden mood swings, and this is where the danger begins. Because when a married man starts to feel a sense of ownership over you, you will begin to feel it too. You will start to second-guess your interactions with other men. You will start to wonder, is he upset? Did I do something wrong? And little by little, you will start to adjust your behavior, not because he asked you to, but because you feel his unspoken expectations weighing on you. You may start avoiding certain conversations just to keep the peace. You may hesitate before mentioning another man's name. You may even find yourself thinking about how he would react before you engage with someone else. And do you know what that is? And let's take this a step further. What happens when you actually start dating someone? What happens when a man comes into your life who is free, who is available, who wants to love you the right way? Suddenly, the married man who was once just a friend begins to change. Suddenly, he starts questioning your choices. Are you sure he's the right guy for you? I don't trust him. I don't trust him. And let's not ignore the other extreme. Some men won't just withdraw. Some will go out of their way to sabotage your happiness. They will plant seeds of doubt. They will make you question the person you're with. They will find ways to make you believe that no man can understand you the way they do. Because when a married man has claimed you in his mind, he will find ways, whether consciously or subconsciously, to keep you emotionally available to him. He may not be free to love you fully, but he does not want anyone else to love you either. He may not be able to be with you, but he does not want to see you with another man. Because real love is not possessive. Real love does not seek to keep someone in limbo. Real love does not demand unspoken loyalty while refusing to give full commitment. So my sister, my brother, let me ask you, have you noticed this in your own life? Have you felt the weight of a married man's jealousy over your relationships? Have you sensed his frustration when you start to focus on someone else? And if you are not careful, this situation will only grow more complicated. Because jealousy does not stay stagnant. It escalates. It becomes resentment. It becomes pressure. It becomes an invisible force pulling you into something that was never meant for you. You deserve a love that is whole, free, and unhidden. You deserve a man who does not have to keep you a secret. You deserve a relationship where love is not tangled up in guilt, confusion, and unspoken rules. Because when a man is truly yours, he will not need to compete with other men in secrecy. He will not need to hold you back out of fear. He will not have to keep his emotions locked away because he is already tied to someone else. So today, I challenge you. Recognize the signs. Do not let jealousy be mistaken for love. Do not let possessiveness be mistaken for care. Because when a married man starts acting like you belong to him, understand that you are being pulled into a space that was never meant to hold you. Love yourself enough to walk away. Love yourself enough to choose freedom. Love yourself enough to say, I will not be claimed by a man who is already claimed. Because the love that is truly meant for you will never come with chains. It will come whole, complete, and ready. When a married man starts talking to you about a future together, he is revealing something deep within his soul. He is exposing the turmoil that exists inside of him, the battle between what he knows is right and what he feels in his heart. He is caught between the life he has built and the life he secretly desires. And whether he realizes it or not, his words are proof that he is living in emotional conflict. Let's take a moment and break this down. At first, his words might seem harmless. Maybe he casually mentions a future where the two of you travel together, where he dreams of living a different life, where he wonders what if. Maybe he starts comparing his reality to an imagined future with you, saying things like, if things were different, I'd choose you, or in another life, we'd be perfect together. And at first, these words might make your heart skip a beat. It might make you feel special. They might make you believe that he sees something in you that he doesn't see in his own marriage. But let me tell you something. His words are not promises. They are a confession of conflict. Because if a married man truly wanted a future with you, he would not just talk about it. He would take action. He would make decisions. He would not sit in the safety of his current life while keeping you in the uncertainty of a fantasy. But here's what happens. He talks about the future because it makes him feel good. It makes him feel good. It makes him feel alive. It allows him to escape from the parts of his life that he is struggling with. But deep down, he knows the weight of his reality. He knows that he has responsibilities. He knows that a future with you would require him to make choices that he is not ready to make. You see, when a man truly loves a woman, when he truly envisions a future with her, he does not just dream about it. He builds it. He does not speak in maybes and some days. He speaks in plans and commitments. But when a married man is caught between his reality and his desires, he will create an illusion of a future with you, even when he has no real intention of making it happen. Let me ask you something. Have you ever heard him say, one day when the time is right, we'll be together? But that day never comes. Have you ever listened to him talk about leaving his marriage, only to see him stay exactly where he is? Have you ever found yourself waiting for him to follow through on his words, only to realize that his words were just that? Words? That is because his conversations about the future are not about making a decision. They are about avoiding one. He speaks about a future with you because he is emotionally invested, but he also speaks about his struggles, his fears, and his hesitations because he is afraid of the cost of that future. He knows that walking away from his marriage would mean disrupting his life, hurting his family, and stepping into the unknown. And so, instead of making a choice, he stays in the middle, caught between two realities, unable to fully commit to either one. Because while he is torn between his emotions and his obligations, you are the one left in limbo. You are the one holding on to words that may never turn into actions. You are the one hoping for a future that he might never have the courage to pursue. And let's be honest, how long can you live in uncertainty? How long can you wait for a man who is not truly free to choose you? How long can you hold on to conversations about a future that never comes to pass? Because the longer you stay, the more you become entangled in his emotional conflict. The more you invest in a love that is built on words instead of actions. The more you convince yourself that his struggles are proof of his love, when in reality, they are proof of his hesitation. You deserve a man who does not just talk about a future with you, but actually makes one possible. You deserve a love that does not exist in secrecy, in waiting, in uncertainty. You deserve a man who is emotionally, spiritually, and legally free to love you without hesitation. Because love should not feel like a battle between what is and what could be. Love should not be an endless cycle of conversations that never lead to decisions. Love should not be a dream that only exists in stolen moments and whispered promises. And let me say this, if a married man is telling you about a future together, but he is not making any moves to make it real, it is time to see the truth. It is time to stop listening to words that have no foundation. It is time to recognize that his emotional conflict is his to resolve, not yours to wait on. Because a man who truly wants to be with you will not just dream about it, he will make it happen. And if he is not willing to do that, then you must be willing to do something for yourself. Walk away. Because a love that requires you to live in uncertainty is not a love that will ever bring you peace. And the future that God has for you is not one where you are waiting for someone else to make a decision. The future that is meant for you will not come with hesitation, with secrecy, with doubt. So today I challenge you, do not settle for words when you deserve actions. Do not hold on to a dream when you deserve a reality. Do not wait for a man who is not truly free to love you the way you deserve to be loved. Because the right man for you, the man who is truly meant for you, will never have to choose between you and someone else. He will come to you whole, ready, and willing. And when that happens, you will not have to wonder if his future includes you, because he will make it clear from the start. Something that too many people find themselves entangled in, the divided emotions of a married man. Let's be real about this. If a married man is struggling between you and his wife, if he is caught in an emotional tug of war, then his heart is split. His affections are divided. His soul is in conflict. And when a man is living in a state of division, he is not fully present in either place. He cannot be everything to his wife, and he cannot be everything to you. Now, let me ask you something. Is that the kind of love you want? Do you want a love that is divided? A love that is shared? A love that exists in pieces rather than in its fullness? Because when a man is torn between two women, he is not fully giving himself to either one. He might tell you that he loves you, that he cares for you deeply, that he wishes things were different, but his actions will always reveal the truth. And the truth is that if he truly wanted to be with you, he would be. If he truly saw a future with you, he would not be lingering in indecision. If he truly believed that you were the right choice for his heart, his soul, and his life, he would not remain stuck between his past and his potential future. But you see, divided emotions create confusion. They create moments where he tells you one thing and does another. They create an emotional roller coaster where one day he seems sure of you, and the next day, he pulls back. He may say he loves you, but he also loves the life he has built. Oh. He may feel a deep connection with you, but he also feels responsible for the marriage he committed to. He may dream about a future with you, but he is afraid of what it would cost him. So he lingers in the middle, caught between the life he has and the life he imagines. He tells himself he will figure it out, that he just needs more time, that one day he will make the right decision. But days turn into weeks, weeks turn into months, and months can turn into years. And my sister, my brother, if you are not careful, you will find yourself waiting for a decision that may never come. Let's talk about the signs. Oh, when a married man's emotions are divided, you will notice inconsistencies. Maybe he is deeply affectionate one day and distant the next. Maybe he talks about wanting to be with you, but when it comes to taking action, he hesitates. Maybe he makes promises but never follows through. And let me tell you something. Inconsistency is a sign of uncertainty. A man who truly loves you, who truly wants to build a life with you, will not waver in his pursuit. He will not send mixed signals. He will not hold on to both you and his wife, hoping that time will somehow make the choice for him. One moment he might be telling you that you are the one who makes him happy, that he has never felt this way before, that his marriage has been over for a long time. But the next moment he may remind you of the reasons he can't leave, the things that make it complicated, the guilt that holds him back. But here's what you need to understand. A man who is emotionally torn cannot fully love you, because love requires wholeness. Love requires a heart that is free to give itself completely. And if a man is struggling between you and his wife, then he is not free. Too many people believe that if they just wait long enough, if they just prove themselves enough, if they just love hard enough, the man will eventually choose them. But let me tell you something. Love is not something that should have to be proven over time. A man who truly wants to be with you will not need years of indecision to figure it out. A man who truly loves you will not keep you in limbo while he sorts out his emotions. A man who is ready to love you fully will not ask you to wait while he decides between you and someone else. Because love is not about waiting to be chosen. Love is about being with someone who is already sure of you. Waiting for a married man to make a decision about you is exhausting. It is emotionally draining. It keeps you in a state of uncertainty where you are never fully secure. It makes you question your worth. Makes you wonder if you are doing enough. Makes you feel like you have to compete for a place in his heart. But my sister, my brother, you do not have to compete for love. Love that is real, love that is true, love that is meant for you will not require competition. It will not require waiting in the shadows. It will not require hoping that one day you will be chosen. So let me ask you this. How long will you wait? How long will you allow yourself to be a part of someone else's conflict? How long will you let his divided emotions dictate your future? Because let me tell you something. The longer you stay, the deeper the pain becomes. The longer you stay, the more you become emotionally attached to a man who may never be fully available to you. The longer you stay, the harder it will be to walk away when you finally realize that his indecision is not temporary. And if he has not chosen you fully, if he is still struggling between you and his wife, then understand that he is making a choice. And that choice is to keep you in a space of uncertainty. That choice is to hold on to you without fully committing. That choice is to benefit from your love without being able to give you the same in return. You deserve a love that is whole, not divided. You deserve a love that is certain, not conflicted. You deserve a love that is free, not trapped in emotional turmoil. So today I challenge you. Do not settle for a man whose heart is torn between two places. Do not hold on to love that is not fully given. Do not wait for someone to figure out if they are ready to love you when you are already ready to be loved the right way. Because love that is meant for you will not come with conditions. Love that is meant for you will not ask you to wait in the background. Love that is meant for you will come with clarity, with certainty, and with complete devotion. So if he struggles between you and his wife, then let that be your sign. His emotions are divided, and a divided heart can never fully love you. And if he cannot love you fully, then you must love yourself enough to walk away. Because somewhere out there, there's a love that is whole, a love that is free, a love that is waiting to embrace you completely. Sacred thing, but when it operates outside of the covenant God intended, it brings not joy but confusion, not peace but chaos, not honesty but deception. What was meant to be a blessing turns into a burden. What was meant to bring life begins to drain it away. And what was meant to be a source of security becomes a source of insecurity, pain, and uncertainty. I want you to understand something. Love was never meant to exist in deception. Love was never meant to be hidden in secrecy, whispered in the dark, or tangled in lies. Love is meant to be pure, to be free, to be whole. But when love steps outside of its rightful place, when it exists outside of the covenant of marriage, it is no longer built on a foundation of truth, but on a foundation of brokenness. And anything that is built on brokenness will eventually crumble. At first, it might not feel like chaos. At first, it might feel exciting. It might feel like passion, like destiny, like something you can't deny. At first, it might seem like you found something real, something deeper than what the world can understand. But let me tell you something. The enemy is skilled at disguising destruction as desire. It might feel like love, but what is love if it cannot exist in the light? What is love if it requires deception? What is love if it causes pain instead of healing? You see, love outside of covenant always brings confusion. It creates emotional instability. It makes people question their worth. It creates a situation where no one is ever fully secure. And let me tell you something about insecurity. It will always demand more than what someone is able to give. Because when you love outside of covenant, you are always waiting for something that may never come. You are waiting for a change, waiting for a decision, waiting for someone to choose you fully. You are waiting for a time when the relationship no longer has to be hidden, when the whispers no longer have to be silenced, when the deception no longer has to be justified. What happens when the man you love keeps making promises but never takes action? What happens when the relationship that was supposed to bring you happiness begins to bring you pain? What happens when the love you believed in turns into something that keeps you awake at night? Something that makes you feel ashamed. Something that makes you wonder who you've become. Yeah. Because let's be honest, love outside of covenant does not just affect the people inside of it. It ripples out and affects everyone connected to it. It affects wives who wonder why their husbands have grown distant. It affects children who sense that something is wrong in their home. It affects the person on the outside who is left in a cycle of waiting, hoping, and questioning their worth. Because love outside of covenant cannot survive without it. Lies become a part of the relationship. Secrets become the language of love. Hiding becomes a normal part of the routine. And when deception becomes normal, it slowly begins to change who you are. At first, you might tell yourself that it's just a phase, that it's just temporary, that one day things will be different. But the longer you stay in it, the more you start to compromise yourself. The more you justify what should never have been justified. And the more you convince yourself that love is enough, even when it comes at the cost of your peace, your integrity, and your self-respect. But let me tell you something. Love is never enough when it is built on deception, because deception will always require more deception. A single lie turns into a lifetime of covering things up. A single act of secrecy turns into a pattern of living in the dark. And before you know it, you are trapped in a life that is no longer yours, a life that is dictated by someone else's choices, someone else's indecision, someone else's inability to commit. You were never meant to live in confusion. You were never meant to be someone's secret. You were never meant to carry the burden of a love that exists outside of covenant. Because let me tell you something. When God ordains love, it is clear. It is pure. It does not require deception. It does not require waiting for someone to leave someone else. It does not require secrecy and whispers and guilt. Because love that is truly meant for you will never require you to compromise your integrity. Because make no mistake, there are always consequences. The enemy will never show you those consequences at the beginning. He will only show you the desire, the excitement, the passion. But what he won't show you is the guilt that creeps in when you realize that what you are doing is not right. He won't show you the pain that comes when promises are broken. He won't show you the years lost waiting for a man who was never going to be fully yours. Because one day, you will wake up and realize that the relationship you thought was love was actually bondage. That the man you thought would eventually choose you has chosen comfort over change. That the time you spent believing his words was time you could have spent healing, growing, and preparing for the love that God actually intended for you. But let me tell you something, my sister, my brother. It is never too late to walk away. It is never too late to reclaim your worth. It is never too late to choose peace over chaos, truth over deception, freedom over entanglement. He has a love that is whole, a love that is honest, a love that is built on a foundation that cannot be shaken. He has a love that does not require you to hide, does not require you to wait, does not require you to live in confusion. And when you finally let go of love outside of covenant, you will see what true love really looks like. You will feel the weight lift off your shoulders. You will regain the parts of yourself that you lost. You will remember what it feels like to be free. So I challenge you today, do not settle for love that comes with deception. Do not settle for love that creates chaos. Do not settle for love that requires you to compromise your peace. And when you find it, you will know. Because real love does not hide. Real love does not deceive. Real love does not create confusion. For your mind, for your very soul. It is a battle between illusion and truth, between fantasy and reality, between what you think you want and what God has actually prepared for you. And if you are not careful, you will find yourself chasing after something that was never meant to be yours. Fantasy love is dangerous. It is deceptive. It is intoxicating. It makes you feel alive in ways you never expected. It whispers in your ear that this is different, that this is special, that this is fate. It convinces you that you have found something rare, something that no one else could understand, something worth risking everything for. But let me tell you something. Fantasy, love will rob you of the real, godly love you deserve. See, fantasy love does not exist in reality. Ooh, ooh. It exists in the imagination. It exists in stolen moments, in hidden text messages, in dreams of what could be instead of what is. It exists in the longing for something that is just out of reach. It keeps you hoping, waiting, believing in a future that may never come. And let me tell you, the enemy is a master of fantasy love. He knows how to dress it up. He knows how to make it feel real. He knows how to make you believe that this love is different, that this connection is deeper than anything you have ever known. He will feed you lie after lie, convincing you that this is your destiny, that this is your soulmate, that this is a love so powerful, it cannot be denied. If this love is from God, then why does it cause confusion instead of peace? If this love is truly meant for you, then why does it demand that you compromise your integrity, your self-respect, and your walk with God? Fantasy love will make you build castles in the clouds, but castles in the clouds have no foundation. They look beautiful from a distance, but when you try to live in them, they disappear. They vanish into thin air, leaving you with nothing but broken dreams and wasted time. And I need you to understand something. Fantasy love is not just about affairs or forbidden relationships. Fantasy love can be the obsession over someone who does not truly love you. It can be the longing for a person who was never meant for you. It can be the idolization of a relationship that does not honor God. Because let's be honest, sometimes we fall in love with the idea of someone more than we fall in love with the person themselves. Sometimes we build them up in our minds, imagining them to be something they are not. We overlook their flaws, we ignore the red flags, we tell ourselves that if we just love them enough, they will change. We convince ourselves that this relationship is the answer to our loneliness, the fulfillment of our deepest desires. It will rob you of your time. It will rob you of your joy. It will rob you of your peace. It will keep you stuck in an endless cycle of waiting and wishing, of hoping and hurting, of dreaming and doubting. Because fantasy love feeds on emotion. It is not rooted in truth. It is rooted in how it makes you feel. No. And feelings, my brother, my sister, are temporary. They change with the wind. They are unstable. They cannot be the foundation upon which you build your future. Real, godly love is not based on fleeting emotions. Real, godly love is based on commitment, on truth, on a foundation that cannot be shaken. It is built in the light, not in the shadows. It is open and honest, not hidden and deceptive. It is steady, consistent, and sure. So let me ask you, are you holding on to a fantasy? Or are you making room for the real love that God has for you? You cannot keep entertaining fantasy love and expect to receive the love God has ordained for you. You cannot keep holding on to someone who is not truly yours and expect to be available when the right person comes. You cannot keep chasing after a dream and expect to find fulfillment in reality. It will promise you fulfillment, but it will leave you feeling more alone than before. It will promise you forever, but it will disappear the moment reality sets in. The moment you try to turn it into something solid, it begins to crack. The moment you try to demand commitment, it begins to fall apart. The moment you ask for something real, it shows you that it was never real to begin with. It keeps you from focusing on what truly matters. It keeps you from growing into the person God has called you to be. It keeps you from walking in your purpose, from experiencing the blessings that come with true obedience, from stepping into the future God has designed for you. You are missing out on the person who will love you the way God intended. You are missing out on the relationship that will bring you peace instead of confusion. You are missing out on the love that will build you up instead of tearing you down. Real love does not play games. Real love does not require secrecy. Real love does not leave you feeling anxious, insecure, or uncertain. Real love does not ask you to settle for half of someone's heart when God wants to give you someone who will love you with their whole heart. Let go of the illusion. Let go of the love that keeps you trapped in a cycle of deception and disappointment. Let go of the relationship that is stealing your joy, your peace, and your future. Because when you finally release what was never meant for you, you make room for what is. You make room for the love that will honor you. You make room for the person who will cherish you. You make room for the relationship that will glorify God. And when you finally experience real love, when you finally receive the love that was ordained for you from the beginning of time, you will wonder why you ever wasted your time on anything less. Because fantasy love is a thief, But real love, the love that God has for you, is a gift. Love is not meant to be divided, split, or shared between two hearts in two different places. When a man is truly in love, he does not live in confusion. He does not walk the tightrope of indecision. He does not hold on to two different lives, hoping to balance them both. Because let me tell you something, a man in love will not serve two masters. He will make a choice. A man who is truly in love will be clear about who he loves. He will be intentional. He will be decisive. He will not keep one foot in one world and another foot in a different world. He will not tell one woman he loves her while refusing to leave another. He will not promise a future while clinging to his past. Because love, real godly love, does not live in confusion. A man cannot fully love you while he is still attached to someone else. A man cannot give you his whole heart when half of it belongs to another. A man cannot build a future with you while refusing to let go of the past. They will tell you they love you, but they will not leave where they are. They will promise you a future, but they will never take the steps to make it happen. They will keep you waiting, hoping, believing that one day they will choose. But hear me today. If a man has not chosen, then he has already made his choice. If a man is hesitating, if he is delaying, if he is keeping you in a place of uncertainty, then he is telling you something loud and clear. You are not his priority. A man in love does not leave you wondering where you stand. A man in love does not keep you second-guessing his feelings. A man in love does not serve two masters. The Word of God says in Matthew 6:24, that no one can serve two masters. Either you will hate the one and love the other, or you will be devoted to the one and despise the other. And though this scripture speaks of serving God versus serving money, the truth of it applies to all areas of life. A heart cannot be split in two directions. A heart cannot be loyal to two different paths. A heart cannot love one woman while still holding on to another. See, a man who is divided in his love is also divided in his soul. He is not at peace. He is wrestling between obligation and desire. He is torn between comfort and change. He is trying to keep something old while reaching for something new. And the truth is, a man in this state is not capable of fully loving you. Because love requires wholeness. Love requires full commitment. Love requires clarity, intentionality, and choice. Some men will tell you they need time. Some men will tell you they are confused. Some men will tell you they don't want to hurt anyone, so they don't know what to do. But let me ask you something. If he truly loved you, would there be any confusion? If you were truly the one he wanted, wouldn't he move mountains to be with you? If you were truly the love of his life, wouldn't he make the choice? Because love, real, godly love, is never hesitant. Love does not need time to decide. Love does not keep you in limbo. Love does not string you along while refusing to make a decision. And my sister, if you find yourself waiting for a man to choose you, then I need you to ask yourself, why am I waiting? Why am I settling for someone who is unsure? Why am I investing in a love that is not fully mine? Why am I allowing myself to be treated as an option instead of a priority? This is an option instead of a priority. Because hear me today, you were not created to be a second choice. You were not created to wait in uncertainty. You were not created to accept a love that is divided, hesitant, or conditional. He will not need time to decide. He will not hesitate in his pursuit. He will not keep you waiting in the shadows while he tries to figure out what he wants. Choice will be clear. That choice will be undeniable. That choice will be you. But I need you to understand something. A man who refuses to choose is still making a choice. A man who stays in limbo is choosing comfort over commitment. A man who keeps you waiting is choosing himself over your peace. A man who cannot decide is telling you that you are not worth the sacrifice. You deserve a love that is whole. You deserve a love that is certain. A love that is certain. You deserve a love that does not require waiting, does not require confusion, does not require you to compete for a place in someone's heart. And if a man is not making a clear choice, then maybe, just maybe, God is waiting on you to make one. Because let me tell you something, sometimes the choice is not his to make. Sometimes the choice is yours. Sometimes you have to choose yourself. Sometimes you have to walk away from the uncertainty. Sometimes you have to decide that you will no longer accept half of someone's heart when God has someone who will give you all of theirs. Because the moment you let go of the wrong love, you make space for the right one. He will not keep you waiting. He will not be confused. He will not hesitate. He will love you with clarity. He will pursue you with confidence. He will choose you without question, because a man in love will not serve two masters.